Hello, my dear friends. I am Dr. Wasim I Khan, Assistant Professor, Shri Shivaji Law College, Parabhani, Maharashtra, India. In today's lecture, we will discuss the second part of tort of nuisance, that is types of nuisance. So we will discuss there are two types of nuisance in this particular lecture. So let's start the topic. Types of nuisance. So introduction we have already discussed in the previous lecture, first part of the nuisance. The word nuisance is derived from the French word neuter and the Latin word nuisere, which means to do hurt or to annoy. So if any person by his act cause any kind of harm, and if the person due to the act of any person is getting annoyed, it means the person will be liable for the tort of nuisance. So it is an act or omission interfering with the right of another to enjoy some property, causing damage or physical discomfort. So each and every person is having a right to enjoy his property in a peaceful manner. If any person cause any kind of indirect interference with the possession of any person, with the right to use or enjoyment of any person, and due to such interference, if the other person is feeling discomfort, if he is getting annoyed, the person who caused such kind of interference will be liable for the tort of nuisance. So now we will move towards the kinds of nuisance. The first kind of nuisance is a public nuisance. So it is an act or omission causing injury or damage or annoyance to the public at large and people in general. So if by the act of any person, if the public at large getting annoyed, if the public at large feeling discomfort, then the act of person will comes under the category of public nuisance. Suppose if I am doing any act, and by that particular act, if the public in general is feeling discomfort or getting annoyed, then I may be liable for the tort of public nuisance. So public nuisance is both a tort and crime. So public nuisance is a tort as well as a crime. So obstructing a highway is one of the example of a public nuisance. Suppose if I obstruct a highway due to which the general public cannot use that particular highway in a convenient manner, the general public is feeling discomfort due to my obstruction, then it is an example of public nuisance and I may be held responsible for the public nuisance. Diamond versus Pierce, it is a particular case relating to the public nuisance. In this particular image, we can see that the defendant parked his lorry on a narrow highway, and due to which the public who were using that particular route were feeling discomfort, and in this case the defendant was held liable for public nuisance. Diamond versus Pierce is that particular case. Salto versus DL, another case which deals with the concept of public nuisance. So there was a church, and in that particular church there was a chapel bell, and which was running 24 hours without any kind of pause. So during the night, the sound of that particular bell was very intense one, and due to which the public from that particular vicinity were feeling discomfort, and the suit has been filed against that particular church, and court held liable to the church for the tort of public nuisance and passed the order to immediately stop that particular bell. So that is also an example of public nuisance, because due to the running of chapel bell, public at large were feeling discomfort. So wherever public at large feeling discomfort, then it is a public nuisance. Public nuisance when actionable by private person, generally it is a general rule that public nuisance cannot be actionable by a private person. So being a private person, I cannot file a suit for the tort of public nuisance, but there are specific circumstances in which the private person can also file a suit for the tort of public nuisance, but it will be the exception. General rule is that public nuisance cannot be for the public nuisance, an individual or private person cannot file a suit. So specific damage is a first exception to the general rule that for the public nuisance private person cannot file a suit. So when private person can file a suit for the tort of public nuisance if there is a specific damage, so that he has suffered a particular injury himself beyond that suffered by the rest of the public. Suppose if the plaintiff proves that the public at large is feeling discomfort, but I have caused a certain special injury, specific injury which the rest of the public has not suffered. If he proved some special damage, then only a private person can file a suit for the tort of public nuisance. So Municipal Board of Lucknow versus Ramdeen is a particular case which deals with the specific damage. In this particular case, the defendant dig a trench across the highway. So it was the act of the defendant due to which the public at large feeling discomfort. Due to the digging of that particular trench, the public at large were feeling discomfort. They were getting annoyed. But in that particular case, the plaintiff fall into that particular trench and his leg was broken, and he filed a suit against the Municipal Board of Lucknow. Though it is a public nuisance, but plaintiff sustained in this particular case some special injury which the rest of the public has not suffered. So in this case, the court held liable to the defendant, and the court ordered the defendant to pay a damages or compensation to the plaintiff because it is a public nuisance, and in the public nuisance plaintiff sustained some special damage. Second example, when the public nuisance becomes actionable by a private person, injury must be substantial. So that such injury is of a real importance or value. If a public nuisance is there, a private person can file a suit only if the injury is substantial, injury is of a real nature or real value. The damage must be particular, direct or substantial. The injury must be direct, the injury must be substantial, then only he may be entitled to file a suit for the tort of public nuisance in his private capacity. Third example, third essential in which the private person can file a suit for the tort of public nuisance, that is, the injury must be direct or not merely consequential. So direct injury means an injury which may be foreseen by the defendant as probable, in the sense that the plaintiff is likely to suffer additional and particular injury. So the injury must be direct, it should not be consequential. If the injury is consequential, the private person will not be entitled to file a suit for the tort of public nuisance. In the case of Ramdeen, the plaintiff fell into the trench, and that particular injury was direct, not a consequential. But suppose if due to the digging of trench, if the plaintiff adopt another road, and in that particular road if he sustained any kind of injury, that injury is supposed to be known as a consequential injury. So when the person in his private capacity may file a suit for the tort of public nuisance if whatever the injury caused to that particular person is a direct one and it is not a consequential one. If the injury is direct, he will be entitled to file a suit. If the injury is consequential, he will not be entitled to file a suit. Now, the second type of nuisance is a private nuisance. If the nuisance causes injury or damage to an individual or group of individual, it is called a private nuisance. So whenever the nuisance causes any kind of injury to the individual or of a group of individual, then it comes under the category of private nuisance. So private nuisance includes wrongful escape of foul gas or noise, water, filth and germs. So these are the certain examples due to which the private nuisance may cause. Suppose if there is a manufacturing process in my neighborhood and due to that manufacturing process there is a foul gas, and due to that particular foul gas if I am feeling discomfort, so it comes under the category of private nuisance. If my neighbor is creating a loud noise due to which if I am feeling discomfort, it is an example of private nuisance. So this is the example of private nuisance. Elements of private nuisance are there. The first element of private nuisance is unlawful and unreasonable interference when a person will be liable for the tort of private nuisance. The plaintiff must establish that there is a substantial interference with his right to use and enjoyment of land or property. So if the plaintiff wants to succeed in his claim for the tort of private nuisance, then he must prove that whatever the interference caused by the defendant, that particular interference is unreasonable as well as unlawful interference. If the interference is reasonable one, defendant will not be held liable for the tort of private nuisance. So if I want to file a suit against my neighbor, it is my duty to prove the first elements of private nuisance, that is unlawful and unreasonable interference. Second element is damage. So the plaintiff has to prove some actual damage he suffered. So if the plaintiff wants to get a compensation for the tort of private nuisance, he must prove that due to the unlawful interference caused by the defendant, I have sustained a certain kind of damages, I have sustained a certain kind of injury. Then only he will be entitled to get a compensation, otherwise not. So the private nuisance is not actionable per se. Person has to prove the loss. If the plaintiff fails to prove the loss, he will not be entitled to get a compensation. Ramraj Singh versus Babula, that is a particular case. In this particular case, the plaintiff was a doctor and the defendant was carrying his bricks kilning factory, and due to the bricks kilning factory there was so much dust, due to which the doctor was feeling discomfort. He filed a suit against the defendant, and in that particular case the defendant was held liable for the tort of private nuisance, because due to the act of the defendant, plaintiff was feeling a discomfort, and due to that particular discomfort a plaintiff sustained a loss. That's why court held liable to the defendant in this particular case. Kinds of private nuisance are there. The first kind of private nuisance is damage to property. So in case of damage to property may be sufficient to support an action of nuisance. There are two types of private nuisance. The first one is damage to property. Suppose if my neighbor is running a heavy machinery in his premises, but due to the heavy machinery, if there is any kind of damage caused to my property, suppose if there is a crack in the wall of my house due to the running of heavy machinery, it is an example of physical damage to the property. So I will be entitled to get compensation, because due to the act of the defendant I have sustained a damage to property, so I will be entitled to get a compensation. Wood versus Conway Corporation. In this particular case, the defendant was carrying his gas work, and the adjoining to the land of the defendant, the plaintiff was residing. So that particular poisonous gas used to enter into the premises of the plaintiff. So for the purpose of screening of that particular gas, the plaintiff plants a tree. But due to the poisonous gas, there was a damage caused to that particular tree, and the plaintiff filed a suit against the defendant because there was a damage to the property of plaintiff due to the act of the defendant. For the tort of private nuisance, plaintiff filed a suit, and in this particular case, defendant was held liable for the tort of private nuisance. Second type of private nuisance is physical discomfort. So in case of physical, the act complained of must be interference with the enjoyment or use of land. So due to the act of the defendant, if plaintiff is feeling discomfort, he can't concentrate in his work due to the act of the defendant, then it will come under the category of physical discomfort, and in this case also the plaintiff will be entitled to get a compensation. Dattamal Chiranjilal versus Lodh Prasad. The defendant established flour mill adjacent to the plaintiff's house. Due to the running of the flour mill, there was a vibration, there was a noise, and due to which the plaintiff was feeling discomfort, and in this case also the defendant was held liable because due to the act of the defendant, plaintiff was feeling discomfort. So in this case, defendant was held liable because he was causing physical discomfort to the plaintiff. So these are the particular types which we have discussed. Who can sue in private nuisance? Now in a private nuisance, who will be entitled to file a suit? The owner. The owner of the premises will be entitled to file a suit for the tort of nuisance. The occupier. Suppose if the tenant is there, tenant in possession, person without possession or licensee or guest servant cannot sue. Suppose if I am a tenant, I am not the landlord, I am not the owner of the property, but if I am the tenant and due to the act of my neighbor, if I am feeling a discomfort, being a tenant, being occupier, I will be entitled to file a suit against my neighbor. But the licensee or guest will not be entitled to file a suit. Who can be sued? Against whom the suit can be filed? The first one is the creator of nuisance. The person who creates the nuisance, against that particular person the suit may be filed. And the second one is occupier. Suppose if the owner is not there but he is a tenant, and if the tenant is causing any kind of discomfort, if he is doing any act due to which other person is feeling discomfort, then an occupier may be held liable for the tort of private nuisance. So this is the particular example which we have discussed. Who can be sued? Third one is a landlord. Generally landlord will not be liable. Generally if there is a tenant, landlord will not be held responsible, but certain exceptional circumstances landlord will also be liable for the tort of private nuisance. So where he knows after the commencement of tenancy the nature of nuisance. So after the commencement of tenancy, if the landlord knows the commencement of a nuisance, then definitely landlord will be held responsible for that. Against the landlord suit may be filed. Where he has covenanted to repair, if there is agreement between tenant and landlord that any kind of repair will be done by the landlord, and if the nuisance is caused due to the non-repairment of that particular premises, then under such circumstances also landlord may be held responsible for the nuisance. Where he has reserved the right to enter and repair, if the landlord reserves the right to enter and repair, then also landlord will be held responsible for the tort of private nuisance when he has authorized the nuisance. Suppose if the landlord himself authorized the nuisance, then landlord may be held responsible for the tort of private nuisance. So these are the types of nuisance which we have discussed. I hope you understand this topic. If you understand this topic, please subscribe my channel, hit the notification button, hit the like button and share this video with your friends. Thank you very much.